Hello everyone. In this video we are going to talk about Virtuoso in the open world. Before we start, let me make very clear that if you have a condition Virtuoso raid build already, nothing should stop you from playing that in the open world. What I'm presenting here is a build optimized to be as self-sufficient as possible, while still being able to deal enough damage to solo encounters in a timer. The gear. The gear is quite straightforward. You run full celestial gear. As stat infusions, I run 18 precision infusions, but if you don't have infusions, then you just lose some amount of DPS. Not that important. We use a set of crate runes for bleeding duration. For Relic, you can either run Relic of the Fractal for better single target damage, or Relic of the Defender for more sustain. Clips in this video are mainly done with Relic of the Defender. As weapons, we run a Dagger and an offhand shield. One of these needs a major Sigil of Celerity, and the other a superior Sigil of Celerity. This sigil combination makes it so every cast of our shield 5 produces around 13 seconds of quickness. On the other weapon set, we want a superior sigil of strength and a superior sigil of perception. If you plan to mainly fight single targets that do not allow to stack up attribute bonuses with the sigil of perception, you can always replace it with a superior sigil of earth. As buff food, I opted to go for the free birthday cake, since we can gain benefits from all of its stats. The Magnanimous Tuning Crystal is a strong and cheap enhancement. As traits, we default to Inspiration, bottom, middle, middle, Dueling, top, bottom, top, and Virtuoso, bottom, top, bottom. When extra sustain is unnecessary, Inspiration can be replaced by Illusions, top, bottom, top, for a solid DPS increase. You may know that trait setup already from the raid build. The Inspiration trait line brings a variety of ways to cleanse conditions and heal yourself. Grandmaster trait is especially important. Whenever we summon a phantasm or when we stock a blade, we heal for a good amount. Together with the passive of our healing ability, we can expect to gain around 800 health or more whenever we stock a blade. And we're going to stock a lot of blades with this build. In dueling, we are interested in traits that grant fury, make our sword phantasms apply bleeding, and reduce the cooldowns of our sword abilities. That we get some free vigor on top is just a nice bonus. Finally, the Virtuoso trait line follows a classic condition Virtuoso setup. Dragon Mind makes all skills with the attribute Blade inflict bleeding, and also heals us for 3% of our condition damage dealt. The Grandmaster trait Blood Song improves our bleeding and makes us stock blades really fast. And finally, the Master trait Duelist Reversal gives us boons whenever we block or evade an attack. With this build, we have the ability to block most attacks the enemies throw at us, which ensures that we have permanent quickness as well. For utility skills, I like to use Psychic Force, as it not only gives boons and knocks back enemies, but it's also a stun break. Arcane Thievery steals boons from enemies, transfers harmful conditions, inflicts slow and grants quickness. Signet of Domination is just a generic damage increase. As our heal skill, Signet of the Ether gives the most value. We can use it to regain Sword 5 and Shield 4, another 2 blocks, and while we do not use it, it passively generates health as well. The elite skill can be either Signet of Humility for a large amount of Defiance break damage, or 1000 cuts for additional DPS. On the Golem, it's easiest to showcase the general idea. We use Shield 5 to gain Quickness and Might, then swap to the offhand sword. On the sword set, we use Sword 5 for additional damage. The utility skills can be used off cooldown for boons. With these simple concepts in mind, we can take a look at some of the encounters you can take on with this build. This will help us discern some of the strengths and weaknesses of this build. First off, all encounters that do less than 1000 damage per second to you can simply not kill you anymore. This means your personal story or just exploring maps, doing some random events that pop up, most hero points, etc., they are simply not even close to threatening you. To be honest, for that type of content, the default raid build is also more than suitable. You do not need celestial gear to do these things. But it's undeniably more chill to play with 26,000 health and 1,600 toughness. Where it gets interesting is when more dangerous enemies try to honestly duel you. That is to say, when they do clear telegraphed attacks which can be blocked. In these situations, this build proves to be extremely durable. However, it cannot be forgotten that blocking enemy attacks always comes at a damage loss, as you cannot attack while blocking. I would say this is the main downside of this build, when you compare it to builds that can evade while doing damage, such as Mirage. If you spend 1 second blocking an incoming attack, the enemy is going to live 1 second longer as well. But you can see that the result of this is nonetheless impressive. Through sporadic use of some of your active defenses, you can definitely solo all hero points in the game. Now when it comes to legendary bounties, I have to say that this is getting a bit trickier. When you attempt them solo, there's a very real threat that you simply die if you don't know what's coming, especially when they have mean instabilities. In large parts, our defense builds on the fact that we can block incoming attacks, so I cannot recommend this build just to get free victories against legendary bounties. It's also definitely not the fastest build to attempt such challenges. However, it works, which was pretty cool to see for me because I definitely cannot do this on a raid build. In my quest to test this build against certain bounties in the open world, I frequently was disrupted by other players showing up and helping, thus ruining the solo attempt. So I've decided to take this build also into instanced content, where I was able to make sure that I was alone. The first boss in Fractal 97 challenge mode is pretty accessible. I never before attempted this solo, and after roughly 30 minutes of practice, I can now reliably kill it, since I know how to deal with the incoming damage. After having cleared it for the first time, I didn't want to go clear the second time in the same day, so instead I went into raids. I did Cairn the Indomitable solo. Yes, this took a while, because the boss has 20 million health. But it's extremely safe, as incoming damage can all be blocked, and the unavoidable damage is around 1.2k DPS, which we can easily sustain through as well. Notice that this is an encounter that Mirage could not solo due to the ticking damage it cannot counteract. In summary, I want to say that I love Virtuoso, and I didn't want this to be the one spec that does not have a strong open world solo build published on YouTube. I think with this build we have something that is certainly strong enough to handle all challenges players will regularly face with ease. When you go out of your way to do the most difficult encounters alone, such as legendary bounties, you will see the limits of this build and realize that other builds probably have it easier. Other builds either bring more sustain or their evades or damage increases, which causes them to be able to deal with dangerous enemies more quickly than you. Nevertheless, the present build is still capable of those same feats. I would say that this build grows with you as a player, allowing you to complete more and more challenging bosses once you figure out their attack patterns. If you want to play Virtuoso and have been looking for a build that handles 99% of the open world very well, I think this is one of the strongest versions of Virtuoso to achieve exactly that. If you are also looking to play instance group content, I would think twice before spending resources on making a build specifically just to be able to solo 1 or 2 extra hero points on your journey. In this situation, I would rather recommend playing the raid build with maybe an extra stun break or a similar modification for normal open world questing. And when you do face a difficult hero point or a legendary bounty, just ask random people for help. I can tell you from my frustrating experience trying to solo and for the recordings that it's very difficult to find a quiet map where nobody will help you. If you're looking for the most overpowered open world spec, I unfortunately cannot offer this with this video. That being said, I truly enjoyed exploring the open world for the past few days and learning how to solo some legendary bounties. I hope you enjoyed this style of video, let me know your thoughts. I want to avoid baiting people into gearing stuff they don't actually need. This is a major issue I see with clickbait titles that praise builds to the heavens and just leave out all of the weaknesses. I much prefer to give a balanced view, show strengths and weaknesses, because in my opinion, that is more helpful for the audience. With that, thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.